All right, so let's take a look at all the stuff that's in there for me to look at. Fire. Someone's got fire. Joseph. Fire. All right, I'm going to download this just because I want it to loop correctly. Okay, I think it's moving okay. Did we look at this last week?
Yes.
But you made some corrections to it.
Yes, you said that the outside was not big enough, and therefore it looked like it was moving backwards.
Right. Yeah, I think you got it. I think it's looking pretty good. The only thing that I would say, yeah, I would say clean it up, right? You know, make sure your shapes are paintable. But here's a couple of suggestions for you.
In progress.
All right, so I think that this space right here is pretty much open. And you might want to try a small little, either part of the flame or a hole or something. And the same thing goes over here. You know, so see if you can work on, and make sure that they're not timed exactly like these. And I think you'll be okay. All right, put that away. Rob, I know I do my attendance correctly for the LMS. You were here last week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Some reason I didn't give you a purple circle. Now, were you absent the week before?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let me make sure I get this right. Okay. All right, that's done. Going down the line here. Joseph, water splash.
I combined everything into one, if that's all right.
Okay, yep. So let me, this is going to loop, so let me download this one. Okay, so I have some suggestions for you. Your water splash looks really good. And everything looks really good. So yeah, I have some suggestions. So what I'll do is I'm going to use this space down here. So I'm going to imagine that this is your overall timeline, right? And what I'm going to imagine is that you've got your smoke looping on 8s. You might have went to 16 drawings. And if you put 16 drawings on 4s, that's a total of 64 frames. And so if you're out here somewhere around 64 frames, my guess is that's where you are. What are you looking? Can you confirm that for me?
Sorry, give me a moment.
Because I think that what's happening is that, remember, it's a distance of scale, right? The idea that there's perspective in here, and okay, so this palm tree is really big, so that means that we're maybe a couple 100 feet away from this palm tree right here. And this one is a little deeper in perspective, so that means that this mountain is actually pretty close. So you don't have to slow this down too much, but you might want to just take it and see if it loops. Right now, if it's 16 drawings on 4s.
Yeah, I'm doing 16 drawing on 4s, it's 64.
So see what it looks like if it's 16 drawings on 6s, just to slow it down a little bit. Remember, it's a volcano. And remember, what you're going to want to do is treat these holes, these upper holes here, should be more like highlights. So give yourself more of a highlight kind of look up here. And I think that these can be holes down here, but make sure that the appearance of the hole is just a little bit more organic and not really geometrical. So make those adjustments just to the cloud area up here. And make sure that's paintable. Remember that in your layering, if you put the background here, that you can get some clouds back here, right? And you can get those just drifting a little bit. Remember that this one technically doesn't have to loop all the way, but it might be really fun to just get some clouds that are moving here just a little faster, like going from this position behind the volcano over to this position. And maybe this cloud goes from here to like over here or something. So it gives a sense of depth. And remember, I showed you how to move things in Toon Boom. All right, so having said that, once you establish the final timing for your smoke up here, this eruption is happening way too fast. Or whatever. I think that it's repeating too fast. I think that what you can do is just kind of look at some footage of actual volcanoes erupting. And if you've got this looping, this is your smoke loop right here, this S64. So what I'm going to imagine is that you take this smoke loop and that you loop it twice, 3 times, and down the timeline even 4 times total. And so if it's a total of 64 drawings on, or 16 on 6s, you're adding 32. So this will end up becoming like 96 drawings right here. So this smoke will end up becoming 96. This will become 180, 192, and so on and so forth. So what you would do is you would take the smoke and copy it and paste it, copy it and paste it, copy it and paste it. And remember, don't do that until everything is that you're happy with it, because in Toon Boom, these become symbols. And that any time that you do anything to any of these frames, it repeats as you're copying and paste it. And then just have this eruption happen maybe once. So if the eruption happens maybe like right in here, right? Because it doesn't have to be realistic, but it's just kind of crazy that it's erupting. And so just have this happen once. All right, so once you've got that, I think that what you want to do is really kind of look at some of these that are disappearing and really follow them through. Also slow it down a little bit. These things can like come up and they're going to follow the traditional principles of animation where they come to a vertical stop and then accelerate back down again. But you can have this either happen only once, or maybe part of it happens here and then another part overlaps it and then another part overlaps it, something like that. But right now it's just kind of looking a little exaggerated, a little cartoony, that is just spurt, spurt, spurt. All right, and so the water splash, you've got the right idea. And so the water splash would only happen, you know, maybe once, right? So that's the right idea here. All right, so what we're gonna talk about today is getting lightning in here. And because everyone is working towards their midterm, we'll talk about lightning. And specifically, I'll give you some fun things to think about for lightning. Also, I think that one of your notes here is that this little place right here is a lagoon, let's say. And so maybe kind of close this off in your illustration and then give yourself more of a marsh over here so that this is like mud. And then over here, you can have mud bubbles. And we'll talk about these mud bubbles either today. Yeah, I think we'll try to do that today. So I'm going to do like lightning and mud. And that should get everyone through the material to get through your midterm. All right, so for your lava is kind of backwards. This line right here should be the line that is the trace back line. That's the line that should be your moving hold. And that this line over here should be the line where the lava is moving from this position to this position on your nodes. And the only reason I say that is because of the approximate position in geometry. This is closer to us. This is just a little bit further away. So it would make more sense to have this just be your moving hold and that this be the cycling part of your wave. As long as you've got this right here, I would recommend putting some lava over here too. And it doesn't have to like disappear behind a ridge like this. The lava can just disappear right here. So give yourself just a little node, another little node, another little node, and just have some lava moving over there as well. All right, so that would help your composition. All right, and then I think the other thing that you would like to try to do is that this eruption here is pretty close to all this stuff right here. And I would recommend taking this palm tree and having it just be like this, and then just make it on fire. Put your fire on top of this palm tree. All right, so those are my suggestions. Fire, mud, water is okay. Lightning, smoke, lava. All right, got those notes? All right, I'm gonna clear the screen. You can go back and look at the footage on YouTube if you want. There you go. Okay. All right, Rob, so Millicent, you asked for the folder and then you didn't put anything in it.
I'm still working on mine
Okay,
real quick. And then
that's
I'll
okay.
send-
All right, so Rob, eruption. Oh my God, your volcano took an anticipation.
Yeah, one of them is at 10 frames, which I was trying to just so you can see the different smoke, and then the other one's at 12. I still got to do some in betweens, but
Right. Well, no, it's just, you very rarely see a mountain take an anticipation. So it is very cartoony and I like it. And I think that I don't want you to adjust anything here because I think it's looking pretty weird. And by weird, I mean good. The problem is that it's not going to loop very much. So it's 12 seconds. All right, so let me think about this for just a moment. You've got like a very Warner Brothers middle years Warner Brothers kind of volcano happening here. I'm trying to think about the lightning here or anything else. What do you plan on doing with this?
at the end there, you'll see the smoke changes, and then I have this kind of billow going. I was just gonna loop that last part. So this will all just be a one shot. It's erupting, some smoke, and then at the end, there's a cycle where you right there, and you can kind of see it going.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take that part and continue to loop it, slow it down a little bit, so that way I can add like the rain and lightning and other stuff.
Okay. All right. So dress up your layout a little bit.
Okay.
We're trying to get Zoom to wake up here. There we go. All right, so I think you might be able to work in some lightning, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that today. Definitely give yourself some sort of horizon. And it depends on what you want to do with the composition here. You might be able to work in fire right here. You said you're going to put rain.
Yeah, I think I was gonna do some kind of lake or something behind it, so that way I can show some water splashes. And
right.
If I could do it again, I'd put the volcano in the background, but you know, I'm just gonna kind of finish the smoke first.
Yeah. Are you going to do the water splash as a standalone piece, or?
I might. I'm working on it right now. I think what I'm gonna have, because right now it's very two-dimensional, so I think once I get all this smoke looping and everything, I'll be able to make it look like it's receding into the background a little bit more.
Right.
And yeah, and then I can start figuring out whether I can have some of those rocks that flew up land in the water, or,
Right.
So I can get some kind of other effect going. Because I know I can get lightning, smoke, and I think the lava should be pretty self-explanatory. I was just trying to figure out ways I can add more of the assignments in there.
Well, I also think that you want to pay attention to the style that you've got working here.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you've got the mountain, the whole volcano doing an anticipation, see what you can do with some sort of exaggeration, the style of the fire. And go back to our board and kind of look at two of the other ones that just might work or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that you do have a whole area here that you want to play with. And so you can have the mud bubble over here. Actually, mud bubbles are really easy. We can throw those in today. But then you've got this area here too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just keep thinking about it. It looks good right now. It's weird, but I like it.
Okay.
Weird is a good thing at that point. You can tell that you spent a considerable amount of time watching Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
Because or Ren and Stimpy. It's like they're not breaking all the rules of animation. They're just making them more awesome. So is this a different one?
It's the same one, just the frame rate's a little higher. It's at 12 rather than 10.
So you would say the timing is slower.
I like it when it's slower, but I know that I need to get the frame rate up, so I have a lot more.
Well, this one says this is saying this is 8 seconds. So this one's actually faster than this one, because this one says 12 seconds. So the one on the left here is slower, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the slower one better.
So yeah, I did too. I think it's just once I add some more in betweens and get the smoke billowing a little bit slower at the higher frame rate, it should be all right.
Right, okay. All right, keep going. Looks like you're happy with it.
At the very beginning, at the very bottom, the animation was working okay, but then as it's leaving the volcano, I'm still working on that.
Okay. This is a tree branch here?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I like it. I think that, yeah, just make sure that each, and I like the style that you're working with too, where instead of really closed shapes, you're working with just shapes themselves. So just make sure that those shapes animate really well. And it might be fun for you to try, and I'm not going to even search for it because it'll take me too long. So let me get Zoom to wake up here. Come on, Zoom. All right, so I like these little shapes that you've got here. So work on animating those shapes into whatever timing for smoke that you have. You know, so animate that up, right? And so I would track these like that. I would just track that one up. And then, so I see that there's an inside curve like this. So give that one here. And then this one skips because it shows up over here. And so it's there, but then and then there's this big one here. So give yourself like another outside curve here that kind of just covers up. So this is a node. I'm sorry, hold on. So this is a node right here for this inside shape. This is the same node. And then this is the node, but there's one that's skipped right here. And you can do that. I think the animation is pretty flexible, but just remember that the timing would be is that you're going from this inside shape to this inside shape to one that's here, and then it's missing, and then it's going up here, so that if you time this out originally that this is on 8s, don't skip this one because this will move too fast. And then get that shape to come up here as well. And then do the same thing with this shape. So this shape goes to here, goes to here, goes to something way over here, so that you do have a general sense of timing on the nodes. And I don't care that this tree branch is in front. I think that's fine. I think that it's not like you're trying to cover up a mistake or anything, but just give yourself the smoke behind it, which is fine. Okay, so just get that tree branch right there. This little bush right here is fine too. So you've got, in the composition, you've got a focal point here that you need to think about, one that's here. And then actually in this one, you can have another focal point. Do you know what you're planning on? You're going to add lightning maybe, right?
Yes, this week.
All right, so when you're doing this, I think that it would obviously be a good place to put lightning is right here. And again, we'll talk about lightning today and mud. So you'll put a little lightning flash right there. I think that you can, were you thinking of doing a water splash right here?
Yes.
All right, could you remind me, did I do the demo for the water splash for you all?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right, so I think that you can work in some sort of lake right here. Seeing that your horizon would be maybe something like that. And so if you've got some sort of lake or whatever, you know, this is a good place for like a giant water splash. Maybe try to get some clouds in the distance, right? You could do a really well done fire right here. Is this supposed to be like a log? Like a downed tree or something?
Yes, it is. So that's a good idea to do that.
All right, so I don't think that, well, let me just do this. So if you draw the fire so that the fire's looping and that you've got some sort of part of the downed tree that's on fire. You can do the fire that doesn't have a lot of smoke to it. And you know that sometimes fire just can burn. So it can just kind of ember away. So you've definitely got the smoke moving off this way. And if you want, I think that you don't have to worry about the flow of the air. But if these clouds are moving this way, it would make sense that if you've got your fire here and it's just kind of consuming this log right here, that it's just going to very carefully ember up into this area. And I think that's good. So you've got, oh, you've got your lava too. So, and remember whoever wrote this class, I don't know why they didn't put these things together. So put some lava there and maybe some lava right here. It would make sense. And then just because you're doing this, it might make sense that if the lava goes all the way to the water, that you do have a little bit of steam. So see if you can work out some steam right here. Remember that the steam is just really easy. It just, the water droplets plume up and then they just go away. You know, I showed you that demo the other week. It's very easy. I can show it to you again, but it's just very easy. And I think that would be good for your composition. Those are just my recommendations. Did you want to take a screenshot of that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right. All right, so remember that these folders are open. There's no close date on them. Well, they're open until the end of May. All right, so having said that, let us talk about lightning. So I'm just going to take this to 1280 or 720. All right, so we're going to do 3 things today: lightning, mud, and well, let me look at something for just a second. So we do have explosions that we passed last week and tornadoes that we'll do after midterm. So we can talk about explosions today. We'll do lightning, mud, and explosions. This laser gun blast It does say streams, plasma streams adjust. Well, we can move this one all the way to the final. And we'll talk about that one specifically for whatever your projects are. But we'll definitely move tornadoes to after midterm. And remember, midterm is somewhere around module 8. Okay, so we're ahead and behind at the same time. All right, so I think I'm just going to try to do all 3 of these in the same project. All right, so I'm gonna actually give myself another layer here. All right. Oops, hold on. All right, so in this layout, what I'm going to do is just plot this out. What I'd like to do is just in our blue, so we'll do like a mud bubble over here. We'll do an explosion in the middle. So these are all just be separate little pieces. And then we'll do lightning over here. All right, so, and we'll do lightning first. Oh, I don't want that, hold on. Okay. So when I'm looking at any of the layouts that have, or the examples that have our volcano in it, some of them have little bits of lightning. This one right here is a tornado that has lightning, and that's fine, that's good. There's lots of different ways of handling the burst, the electric burst of lightning. So let's find a good one. So here's just some real big fat Arizona kind of lightning. You know, this little GIF that's moving right here is interesting because it's very game oriented. And all of the stuff goes away, the plasma, the burst, the explosion, the lightning, all of that just goes away. You know, this is interesting. It's kind of a plasma lightning itself. This one's kind of interesting. In these two right here, lightning definitely has a root kind of look to it. Here they're showing you how to paint lightning, and we don't have to go to that extent where you draw the core and then fatten it up and then draw a glow behind it. We can simplify that just a little bit. And so we can leave this one just sitting right here. I'm gonna see what we get when we just do this one. And what I'm looking for is just something that's a little bit more graphic, something that is more hand-drawn rather than a photograph. So this is interesting to me because I kind of like the shape in there. So that's realistic photo right there. I like that. We can just let that sit there and let it play, or we not. So what we're doing is we're getting some shapes in our eye. This is interesting because this woman is doing life drawing for a neck, but it ends up looking like lightning. Very strange. All right. And we're getting a little unrelated here. So this is one of the things that kind of starts your imagination, that lightning does start from one source and go to the other. It goes from one place and goes to another. In reality, the electrical burst starts from, let me get this right. It starts from the atmosphere and goes to the ground, but the way the positive, the anode and the cathode work is that the actual burst of the lightning starts from the ground and goes upwards, and then you see the light going from the atmosphere to the ground. It's kind of like a reverse thing in science. All right, so I'm not seeing one that's giving me a real graphic. You know, this one's real. It's got a central core. A lot of the other ones look like roots. Let's see what happens if we trend this one. So you definitely see that root kind of feel to it. All right, so what I'm going to do is go back to our main board, and then just about midway down, I think I have one that's just a really good example of shapes and definition and simplification. And you always want to do this whenever you're starting a new adventure. Just always give yourself a place where your eye is memorizing shapes. You don't want to just do things randomly. So I like this. It would be a little bit too much to try to draw an inside and an outside curve of our lightning. And again, this one right here is really good for our tornado. When we get to it, just look at this little blue and white one here, just after midterm. Rob, I think that this kind of fire right here might work well. This weird stylized one right there. This one. But that might work really well in your composition for your volcano. All right, so this is, yeah, go ahead.
I like those. I've seen a couple like that where they use like shapes rather than, or more straight lines, I should say.
Yeah, try it. Give it a try. All right, so as we're talking about this electrical burst, here's like a plasma burst. So when you're doing your final, instead of just having an orb come into your final composition, you might want to try something like this, where the orb actually has an electrical flow inside it. So just keep that one in mind too, this one right here. All right, I'm looking for a specific one. So this one's got a nice simplicity to it. These are more plasma and gunburst here. You can see that there's some little sparking here. You know, there's an anatomy of lightning here, which is kind of interesting. Again, the roots. So I think we're right where I wanted to be right here. We're about here. So if I have, and I'm just going to do this off the stage here. If I have an anode and a cathode, and we're talking about lightning, and if you, let's say that you're doing some sort of like underground chemistry lab or something, and we are talking about electrical energy, you can have energy in the form of lightning that looks like this. And I'm going to just do this, and I'm going to erase it. Or if you remember back to our pixie dust, one of the things I went on and on and on about was the idea of not drawing a little magical place spark dust in the same place. And that holds true for a great many things in animation. So right now I'm making sure that my little sparks here are just not in the same place at all. And I'm going to take this to 8 frames. So this is my 7th frame. And you can almost see what this is going to animate like just by looking at the drawings. So if you wanted to do something, and you've seen something like this in the examples that I've shown you from other students' finals. You know, so this right here is just, you know, it's going crazy. It's just going nuts. It's sparking around. If you wanted to emulate something more to this, you can add like little extra flyaways. Just to take up little space. And it's moving a little quick. So if you take this out onto actually 2s. Oops, hold on. And now we're on 16. So what I'm getting at here is the essence of timing. So you can kind of see that there's like a little electrical blast right there. It's one thing to think about lightning as just a pure strike, but it can do that too. So, and that's just one really quick example. All right, so for this composition here on my background, I want to make a point of giving myself an object. So this object right here is just going to be, I'm going to borrow from our volcano, and I'm actually going to move this over a little bit. All right, so I'm going to give myself just a little bit of a volcano here. And I'm just going to sketch in where smoke might be. Just real quickly. All right. So for the lightning, I'm gonna take this away. Hold on. All right. So on my layout, actually, what I'll do is we'll just start looking at this. So I'm going to go back here, look at the lightning shapes. You know, this is too much. This would take forever. This is too little. It's a little too fat. It's a little too graphic. What I'm looking for is some good shapes. It does look like roots, right? It doesn't have to be continuous. But the thing about the volcano is that the lightning can start from a place. So there's an anode up here and a cathode down here, and it tries to find the path of least resistance. You can find a general hot core like this. So that's the general pathway. And you can have the root pointed from the top towards the bottom. All right, so this is actually what I should be doing. This should be on the layout. So let me grab this, copy it, paste it on the layout, go back to the lightning. All right, so this little blue thing here, the way the lightning is going to work is the following. I'm going to turn my layout off and on, right? So I'm going to just take this, give myself a new color. It's going to be more of a white color. And we're going to start the lightning coming in. We're just going to copy that little bit right there. And what we can do, there's a couple of things that you could do. If you really wanted to work fast and you were doing a handheld game and it was only, 28-bit or something, you could draw this whole thing and just draw it first and then do it backwards and just erase so that it grows. What we're going to do is we're just going to get this to come out. We're going to copy, we're going to trace it. And we're going to add the other bits. Now, the reason why we're going to trace it is because the lightning can actually move around a little bit. It's found its path of least resistance, but it's also alive. So it's moving, it's growing, it's quickly. I'm doing it on 2s right now. We'll see what it's like. Sometimes I like doing the drawings on timing that I know is not quite gonna work, just to get a feel of what. So I'm just getting like a moving hold on it. And again, there are all kinds of things that give lightning its character. Sometimes lightning, when it strikes, it just holds. It starts from one place and it goes to another place, and that's it. It flashes, it stays in the same place. Sometimes it's just one little blast. It's just 2 frames. But for here, we want to just look at this and see that we can get the timing working right. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out to 60 because I just want to see what this animation looks like. All right, so I think that it's growing a little too slowly. So when I'm looking at this, I think that let's just look at it one more time. It's like it's there, but I don't like it. So in this demonstration, I'm going to take it down to 1s. All right, so now let's see what it looks like. Also, I'm going to take this, and in Toon Boom, if you right click, you can grab this and just move it over to wherever you want it to be. I don't think you can do that in a lot of other applications. All right, so that looks better. So those 6 drawings right there look better. That little grow thing that I did looks better. All right, so now let's do another one. Over here, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it in faster. Oops, I don't like that. And I don't like this either. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete these frames. I should have used an open drawing here, but that's okay. All right, so now on this one's just going to be faster. This one's super fast. And it's also taking on a little bit of that plasma generator thing that we just looked at. All right, so this is only 2 frames. So watch what happens. Flash, flash. So we don't really see it. That it's 2 frames, we're not looking at it. So let's take this one and just get it to grow a little bit. And we can put this one on 2s. And we're just getting a general sense of timing here. All right, so we'll put this one on 2s. All right, so you can see that this one's working. Let's put this one on twos as well, and the second drawing on twos. So we got one on ones and for 6 drawings, one on twos for 3 drawings. And you can see that there's a lot of variety there. And so you can play with this, you can work with it. Lightning doesn't have, it can last for a full second. It can last for 24 frames. It can last for 18 frames, 12 frames. There's all kinds of different ways the lightning can react. But what we want to do now is we want to look at cleaning this up just a little bit. So this is just going to be a rough layer. We're going to put another layer on top of this. So I'm just going to say lightning and just a little bit of cleanup on top of it. All right, so for this one, we've used this little white color here. And so I think what I would like to do is just take this color and modify it so that it's more of a black color, so that on our clean layer, we can really start to look at what this lightning is looking like. And for one of the first times we're going to use a brush, we're just going to use a regular brush, maybe a solid brush 2, because when we, I want to give myself this new color. Hold on a second. Because when we do this and I hit the K key, you can see that now I've got vectors all over the place. K key, it's not behaving. I don't know why it's not behaving. All right, there we go. So you can see that when you're drawing with the brush, you've got vectors on the outside of the line. And that'll give you a chance to really play with the thickness. And so on this one, we're just going to copy this gray. We're going to go to the next frame. We're going to copy what was ever gray. I'm trying to get the thick and thin, so I'm letting off the pressure from my pen. I'm trying to get sharp points in there. I'm making sure that the lines that I'm drawing are kind of following my rough, because I knew that that was sort of working. I can also play with it. It's pretty forgiving. I have the images of roots in my mind. And one more. All right. So let's just look at the way this one feels. All right, so I think that that's working. Let's go ahead and do this one too. Remember, there were only 3 drawings in this one. Oops, we did that same thing again. So let's get rid of these frames. All right, and then there's a nice little trick I'm going to show you here. Couple of tricks right in a row. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is make sure that the timing is working okay. Play. All right, so both of them are working okay. So you can see that there's lots of variety there. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is that if you go to your sub-select tool here, sub-select tool, and you touch on the lightning itself, you can move the actual thickness of the lightning around. You can make things really sharp. So you can tell that I wasn't really too crazy about making sure that I had those really sharp points. Because now I can go back in. Oh, so I don't want to do that. That was weird. You can make these really sharp now. Go to your next keyframe. You can make these really, really, really sharp. As long as you've got the vector points, now you can go in there and just give yourself a good sense of thick and thin so that the lines that you drew don't actually look like paintbrush lines, and that you can give a real sense of sharpness. If you, I'll just keep going here. All right, so once again, I don't know if you have the ability to work in Procreate like this. Joseph, you're working in Procreate. Can you work in vectors like this?
No, I'm working in Toonbook.
Oh, you are, okay. So again, I used the brush tool. And now, so this one's a little rounded right here. There's also, if you click on it, you can get your Bezier handles. And you can just move those around. Right? You see what I'm doing? So you just double click on it. Or I'm sorry, it's a single click. But also I'm kind of close. It's just playing around. All right, so that's one thing that you can do to really make this look like fire. Again, just click and then get the little handle in there. I think one of the things you might want to play with is the idea that the lightning grows. It's fast. It should have a thick and thin quality to it. It definitely has a root look to it. All right, so let's see what we can see that those shapes are there. Let's see what they look like when they move. So you can see you don't want the lines here to be like this brush line. You don't want to give yourself away that you were drawing all of this with a brush. So if you go back in here and you just start moving some of these vectors around so that you don't want to give it away that you drew this with a brush. So in order to make it look a little bit more organic, use the brush tool and then go back in here and just get your lines to just have more variation to them. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, and then so it's just a noodling act like that. Sharp points and noodling. Save, play, and let's do the second one. All right, so that one's fine. We already looked at this one a little bit. All right. Sharp points are best. All right. Now this relates to the explosion that we're going to do here in just a moment, because, oops, I don't want to do that. That looks crazy. All right, so I'm trying to work quickly here, just give you all a sense of how to work. All right, let's take a look. We just did those 3 drawings right there. 1, 2. Okay, good. So let's go back and look at this. You can see that both in the tutorial that we just looked at up there, and this guy's doing it here too, with this little lightning thing that he's got on his hand moving. He's showing that he's drawing a lightning. He's giving it a thickness, which we just did. He's giving a little bit more variability to it. And then he's got like this little plasma thing that happens at the end. And then when he plays it, it kind of like, it's more like a plasma blast. So again, this one's on the board and it's kind of interesting, but there's a little glow in there. And so for us, I think that what we want to do here is we want to say, hey, you know, this lightning is somewhere around 1,000,000 volts. Lightning can be anywhere between 500,000 to 6 million volts. Ooh, you know, that's crazy, but it doesn't have that many amps. Lightning can kill you if it hits you in the correct way, but many people survive lightning because it's so the energetic quality of the electricity just crawls on your skin. It doesn't really get into your body. So it's a lot of volts, but not a lot of amps. But there's a glow behind it. So what you can do is you can work with a couple of different things. You can say, I want a glow behind this. And so one thing that you can work on is drawing like an area right behind it. And if you wanted to be crazy, you could just take your pencil and just draw an outline of this and paint it and put a glow node on it. But there's a better way. There's a faster way to do this. So what I'm going to do with this lightning clean is I'm just going to bring myself another layer. And this one's just going to be I'm just going to call this a glow layer. And I'm going to put it underneath it. I'm going to put it underneath it. There we go. All right, so for each one of these frames right here, phone. So for right here, well, actually, let's do we're going to do the glow and the flash on the same layer here. So we've got this lightning timed out. You know, we like it. So if we pull back to a regular stage and we play it, there's a couple of things we can do. It's like, okay, that works. Let's turn our layout off just so we can see what the, okay, so what I want to do is I want to take this right here. I want to take this and this, and I'm going to move it down the timeline just two frames. So it filled in this area, so I'm gonna get rid of this right here. I'm gonna delete this. So now what I've got is, if we just look at this, it's gonna be strange because we've got a lightning coming in and then it goes away. So for these 3 frames right here, it goes away. So instead of doing a technical glow, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a flash. And so this whole area right here can be drawn with a pencil. So what I want to do is I want to look at this lightning right here, and we'll time it here just a little differently, but so this whole area. Well, actually, let me do it this way first. I'm gonna take this whole field right here, and we're gonna just take a white card. And I'm going to paint it white. Toon Boom is not responding today. And then we're going to take this and we're going to copy it. And we're going to paste it. And we're going to paint this one black. I don't know what those 2 little artifacts over there. And we're going to take this one, we're going to paste it, and we're going to move this down the timeline just a little bit. So now what we have is the lightning growing, getting a little bigger, white frame, black frame, white frame. I'm sorry, I skipped it. I'm sorry. White frame, black frame, white frame. Then it picks up the lightning again. So this is just a really great way to show the whole flash, right? So that, and it works. It's like boom, but remember, we're quite a distance away from this lightning. And we're going to revisit this one here again when we do our bomb, but I don't want this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to delete this. Hold on. For some reason, I thought I was in Photoshop there for a second. All right, so I have artifacts there, but let's take a look at this because there was something interesting happened here, that the little break in the lightning there for 3 frames, it was there. You know, we can feel the little break right there. It actually is kind of an interesting thing. Now, I don't recommend doing this whole entire frame because we're so far away. But on this frame right here, let's go back. Oops, I'm in the wrong window. Let's go back to this frame right here. And we're just gonna copy this on this layer right here. And we're gonna use a black. We're gonna use white on this frame with a pencil. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of give ourselves the glow. So we're just going to copy this, and I don't like that, so I'm going to redo it. I'm going to give myself just a real big outline here. I can even add in other shapes that aren't part of the core. And we're going to paint this white. And then we're going to take this and I'm going to move it over a frame. And I'm going to copy this. And we're going to do the same thing that we just did. So I'm going to copy this whole thing. And I'm going to go to here and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to paint this black. And I'm going to go to here. I'm going to paste it right in the same place. And this one has nothing on it, so that's okay. But so let's see what we have right now. It's just with that core graphic shape right there. So now we've got that little flash that just happens around it. Because this is a pencil, we can, oops, I don't want to do that. We can take this and we can modify it just a little bit by looking at the singular curves, or we can use the main selection tool and modify it however we want. We can make it so that it's not the same as the other one, right? We can rotate it. We can do all kinds of things. We can take a look and see what just that flash looks like. But I think it's a little bit too graphic. So because we have Toon Boom, one of the things that we can do with just this glow is put a quick node on it. So we're going to go to our node library here, select everything, move everything away by 25 pixels. What we want is this glow right here. Oops, deselect. We're going to grab a glow and put a glow node on it. We can also put a transparency node on it. So let's do that. Which makes sense because this is, let me make sure we're grabbing the right one, this one. So put this glow into the glow node, the glow into the transparency, and into the composite. Go back to our color palette, go back to our timeline. In the glow, let's take the intensity up to 2, turn the flower from the OpenGL into the render mode, and just to see what the glow looks like. And I don't think it's enough yet. That's weird. Hold on a second. I don't know why it's not behaving. Let me go to the next frame. All right, so let me make sure that something was playing with my eyes right there. So it should not be, it should be showing me what this glow looks like. I'm going to take the transparency. The transparency should be 50, which is fine. But something that's not right with this intensity here. All right, something is not behaving correctly. So let me do a quick movie. Yeah, for some reason, the whole background is black. I don't know why the background is black. And the glow is not working like I want it to work. This should be really soft and transparent. For some reason, it's misbehaving. All right. It would help if it was not misbehaving. The glow is just on the glow layer. Turn off, render. Yeah, something is strange with the render mode. anyway, the idea here would be is to get a patch. So we did the white frame, black frame, white frame thing, and this version here just has this little patch behind it as white, black, white, and it works because now you're only flashing an area around the lightning. All right, hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, so what I'd like to do right now is just express that there could be an infinite number of varieties of the way you draw this lightning. But I think that, just to reiterate, it helps to think just about, especially like in this layout mode here, that you've got one little flash of lightning over on this side. You could certainly have another flash of lightning up here just to even out your composition just on this side. And it would make sense just for balance, for composition. So just the idea of two little flashes of lightning, one on one side, one on the other. If you wanted to do the white frame, black frame, white frame, you can do an area, let's say that was behind the smoke and behind the volcano all by itself. Or you could think that it was more organic, that it was more of a rounded shape, and you can certainly try that. So this whole circular area I'm drawing here is what you would white frame, black frame, white frame, and then get your glow and your transparency to work. I don't know why the Toon Boom is misbehaving right now. And that works. And the other option is to just do the field around the lightning. Obviously anything in between. So if you had this lightning flash here, it could just be this area that's flashing. And then this area that's flashing white frame, black frame, white frame. It can be the whole background. So if you had, like in this composite, you had a horizon back here, another volcano or what have you, and then you had your little pond or lake right here. It could be the background is all by itself, the horizon, this is on another level, the midground, your volcano is on another midground. It can just be a white frame, black frame, white frame on an area between the background and the midground where your volcano is. The other thing that you can do is, instead of just a white frame, black frame, white frame, you can take the volcano, which was whatever color, and reverse it. So that instead of this whole composite being covered up by a white, black, white frame, it might be interesting if the mountain was brown, then all of a sudden it becomes green, and then brown, and then green, and you can flash the colors just opposite of the color spectrum. There's all kinds of different ways of handling this, and we'll do this we'll do this again when we revisit our bomb. But right now, let's take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, I'll show you how to do this explosion and then the mud, and also try to fix what's going on with Toon Boom. All right, so take a break. All right, I was trying to figure out what was going on with that glow node, and I can figure out, so I just turned it off. I deleted my glow. It's not supposed to paint your background black when you put a glow node on it. I don't know exactly what was going on. But the thing that I was looking for was something in the line of just a faint little glow behind it, or the idea that the lightning in this example right here is actually lighting up the clouds behind it. And I was looking for that little soft radius, little glow right there. No, this is a good example. I'll work on it if I can deconstruct what Toon Boom is doing and not doing. I can post like a little QuickTime movie in the discussion area of our class. But just remember, Lightning is very easy. Keep the shapes as graphic as you can get them. They do look like roots in a lot of instances. All right, so let's talk about this bomb. We're going to do a bomb right now. So I'm going to give myself a bomb layer. And maybe, who knows, it could be that this file of Toon Boom already has a gnome in it. Remember that you just got to be really, really careful with anything inside those Toon Boom folders, but it shouldn't work that way. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about a bomb, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at it just in terms of what our class is looking for. So when I look at our outline mode here, we were going ahead to the, we were looking at explosions, but let's just talk about the idea of an explosion, because you might want to use it in your final. All right, so we're just going to do a real simple example right here. I'm going to start with a rounded shape. We're going to change it to black. We're going to paint it black. We're going to add a simple little shape on it. We're going to paint it black. All right, and so I don't know why I'm doing this on frame 56, but let me take this and drag it all the way, oops. To the first frame. And let me, so this is going to be somewhere out around 5 seconds. And let me think about this for just a moment. All right, so this is just the little bomb right here. Just a word for you. If I were to just take my pencil tool and put a TNT on here. Does anyone know what TNT means? Nope, trinitrotoluene. There's a really interesting connection between what trinitrotoluene and animation. The reason that we call animation cell animation is because trinitrotoluene, TNT, is basically the difference between gunpowder and now I lost the word. The stuff that dynamite is made out of, nitroglycerin. If you shake it, it explodes. But they discovered that if you take the gun cotton, which is like the stuff that's left over from the making of cotton, and you leave it sit there, you get this like oil. You get this like paste, like this goo, this syrup. And if you let it sit there, it hardens, and it's clear. It's like candy. You can't really do very much with it because it's bitter. But if you mixed trinitro, whatever the flash point is with it, it makes it softer. So a lot of what we owe in film has everything to do about the making of dynamite and gunpowder, because the the chemicals that were used to make gunpowder, if you added them to the gun cotton, it gave you nitrocellulose. And so that was, so everything between the beginning of animation and all the way up to about 1968, 1970 was all done on cells, short for nitrocellulose. And they were very expensive. Cells were constantly washed and reused because they were so expensive. If you see an original cell from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and it's really clean, then it means it's a reproduction. If you see an original cell from Snow White and it's like brown or ochre, you could be looking at something that's worth a lot of money because those cells were reused. A few of them were sent to the archives in Kansas City. But the really cool point is that because they were made from, I can't think of the word, the nitrocellulose would leach out of it and they became explosive. And if you let the negative in the film canister sit there and you got all this nitroglycerin sitting in the bottom of the canister and you shook it, it would explode. So there's a whole field of films called nitrocellulose films. But so just remember, trinitrotoluene has a direct correlation to us in animation. All right, so this is our bomb. It's got a bunch of gunpowder in it. It's sitting there. It's just sitting there all by itself. On a layer on top of this, I'm going to make my fuse. We're just going to call it F. And then for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a yellow color and we're going to do just kind of what we had talked about before, where we're going to draw a fuse. Coming out of the bomb. So this fuse is just sitting right here and it's going to have some sparkle coming out of it. It's going to be igniting. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to let it sit there and we're going to take this out to about frame 24 just for 1 full second. I'm going to F5 this. And I'm going to change my mind because I want the fuse to be started already. So we're just going to take it to 8 frames. 6 frames is fine. Oops, I don't want to do that. Hold on. All right. So right now what's going to be happening is that there's going to be, the fuse is lit. There's going to be little tiny explosions coming off the end of the fuse itself. So on this fuse layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this fuse. I'm just going to copy it in my clipboard. And on this next blank frame here, I'm going to paint it, paste it. And I'm going to just leave my eraser tool sit here for just a moment. And I know that this wasn't working the other day, but let me see if it's working today. So I'm going to go 2 frames out, paste it again. And so I want just about that much on each one of the frames. So I'm going to paste it again. And I want about that much. 2 frames out, paste it. What about, that's a little too much. Two frames out, paste it. Like that, just about like 1/8 of an inch or so. Oh, we want to turn our glow off. Paste it. So what I'm doing is I'm just revealing. You could do this if you had a jet airplane flying across the sky and you wanted to draw a contrail. So you just draw 1 contrail and then you go backwards and you erase it, just like we're doing it now. And then it's like almost like you're animating backwards. Oh, what am I doing here? Oh, there we go. All right. So this is just diminishing the fuse itself. And one more. All right, so we've got like 11 or 12 drawings right there. This is going to go out all the way to the end of the shop. But let's just see what we've got just in terms of the reveal of the fuse. All right, so let's stop it, play it again. It's holding for 8 frames and it's revealing. So that it's pretty quick. I think that's fine. On top of this, what we're going to do is we're going to take our pencil with a new color. We're going to make the new color white, just a little more white. And we're going to go back to this frame here, and we're going to just add from the direction tangential to the direction that is pointing right from the end of the fuse, and we're just going to get the sparks to come out of it. So the first thing we're going to do is just draw a bunch of straight lines, perpendicular, straight in line with the direction of the fuse. Just a few of them. Just like always, you don't want those lines to be in the same place as the other ones, because you want the fact of this little fuse, the fabric fuse, burning. So just try to keep those lines in a brand new space. Test it here if you want. And let's give this one more right here. On this frame right here, let's just give one more like that and just test it again. Save it, test it again. All right, so let's put this on 2s. Now let's go make ourselves a new color. And this one I want just to be a little bit more orange, a little hotter. All right, so on this frame right here, what I want is I want a bunch of yellow, orange flashes. Next frame. Now you don't want any of these to be in the same place. So we're just going to do this really quickly. These are just the gunpowder exploding off the fuse itself. Now I'm doing this because you all might want an explosion for your final, something in your chemistry lab. All right, so on this one, I think I want to add even just one more extra little frame of maybe even 2 frames of the flashing gunpowder. Let's see what that looks like. All right, good. I didn't even have to look at it. We're going to use our new color too and put some bigger, oh, I don't want that. Some bigger flashes of white, just a couple of them. What you've got is you've got silver nitrate, gunpowder on a piece of fabric that's burning, and it's kicking out sparks. You can go look at spark footage if you want, but this is just fine. Again, this is pretty forgiving. Just you're getting the fuse right there. A couple of them. All right. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to look at I had it in my eye. You know, something like this, just a little bit of a wisp of smoke that comes out of the end of the bomb before it explodes. And I had one in there. And I should have right-clicked it, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't know what I did with it. Okay. So right now what's happening is the bomb is sitting there, the fuse goes along, and then there's the fuse goes out. Let's give ourselves a block of time when nothing happens, right? There's going to be nothing happening, but before nothing happens, let's get this little energetic fuse thing to deteriorate with a little bit of a wisp of smoke. So I'm just going to call this wisp. All right, so here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a little bit of smoke coming out on twos. It's going to rise up on twos. Going to continue to rise up. Like 6 drawings into it. Continue to rise up, animating this straight ahead. I'm using 2 lines. It's breaking away from the shell of the bomb itself. I'm using 2 lines. And right about here, I'm going to just draw this part of it. So I'm starting to deteriorate the actual length of the smoke itself. One more. One more. And now it just becomes all right, so let's take a look at that. All right, so I think this part might be moving just a little too fast. So let's take this and put it on 3s. And look at it again. Okay, so that's fine right there. So now what I want is I want my bomb, this bomb right here is originally, it's going to explode here in just a moment, but I want a solid 8 frames of nothing before it actually explodes. And what I'm going to do is go back to my search window, and I know that I have this on the board somewhere, but I'm going to look for 2D animation. I did this the other night. Explosion. I'm going to put in drawing for a keyword. I'm going to put in Hallis because he was the author of the textbook where this comes from. Let's see what we get. Change it to images. And I'm going to give up really fast if I don't see it. And I don't see it. 2D animation explosion. So what we're seeing is a sequence of what the explosion looks like. This is a pretty good one right here. I'm not seeing exactly the one I want, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'll just click on this one just to get an idea of what the flash looks like. All right, so right here we've got 8 frames of nothing before this explosion happens. So right here I have a fuse layer, and I don't care. This is just for a demo. What we're going to do is we're going to back away from this for just a moment. And we're going to look at this position right here of where this actual bomb is, the actual black thing that we drew. Because right here, we want at least 1 frame of the bomb living I'm going to use a yellow color right here. And I can use my line tool. I can just draw a bunch of straight lines emanating from the center of the bomb. You can see here that we do want that bomb on for just one more frame. And I am thinking, you know, this is a 5-point star. Now it's a 6-point star. If I go to my paint bucket, I can paint it. And this is what I call chasing vectors. So even though they're straight lines, Toon Boom is technically not behaving with all my shapes. So that's fine right there. All right, let's back away from it just a little bit. And this needs to go away because this little bit of smoke here should only be on for 3. So I want to right click and then delete this there, because that's my little pause. That's the little break. So this flash right here, actually, I can move this backwards a frame and I can see what this looks like on 2s. We're going to play around with the timing here for just a moment. And we're going to go to the next frame. And the very next frame, we're going to, our line tool, and we're going to just take this shape that we made and make it huge. And my mouse is freaking around. Hold on a second. There we go. So I'm just going to make it really, really big. And remember that the tangent should be pointed towards the center of the bomb. That's where it's exploding from. All right, and if I get lucky, I should be able to just paint this with one click. And I got lucky. Okay, good. And that should cover up the bomb. We're going to be on 2, so let's go to the next frame, again with our line tool. I'm going to move away from the stage just a little bit because now I want this. Now I want this. I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to give myself a paint 2 line all the way around the outside of it because now the explosion is just, oops, I didn't even want that. It's huge. Like this one, you don't even see it. You know, I just did it there to keep my eye on it. All right, so now it's really, really big. And I'm going to paint it. There we go. And we could take a look at what this looks like just by itself, just that first flash. You could see that it starts to work. We're going to play around with this timing here in just a moment. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this frame right here. And we want to know where our bomb was. So I'm going to like take a pencil mark here on the outside of the stage and give myself just a registration point. And on this frame right here, oops, I drew that on the wrong frame. This should be on the layout. So I'm just going to remember that the bomb was about right there. It's a little bit off center. All right, so on this frame right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another, oops, I want to use my line tool. I want to do another, hey, Toon Boom is not behaving today. Another flash that's right inside of it, but different from the other flash that we just had. And it just so happens that this is coming out to be a star, which is fine. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing out here, but this one is going to be a little different. This one, it's going to open up. We're going to have an interior shape on this one. Oops. All right, and I see that I have an open space right there. Hopefully I'll get lucky and it'll close. So this one's going to have an interior shape on it, a little hole. And again, it's pretty forgiving. You just like make sure that your lines are paintable. And I got lucky. Good. Now, what I can do here is I can just take this, copy it, go out 2 frames, paste it, and then just get it to be really big. And I'm using just the tool here. All right. So now what happens here is that the second flash, I'm going to put that on 2s, has this open space to it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing we did with our lightning, but I'm going to do the white frame, black frame thing. Oops, I don't want to do that. So here we go here. So that's a yellow one, but that's okay. We're going to paint this black. We're going to copy it. Oops. We're going to copy it. We're going to go out 2 frames. We're going to paste it. We're going to paint this one white. Oops, already white. Make sure this is black, white, 2 frames out, paste it, and then hold this for another frame. And let's see what this looks like. So this is the core build of a bomb explosion. Okay, so this part here is moving a little too slow. So let's take this down to a frame 1, go out, frame 1 frame, 1 frame. Let's leave this one on 2s for just a second. What I'm looking at is a differential in timing here. 2s for the fuse, 3 for the smoke, 8 frame pause, 1s and 2s. So there's a variation in timing right there. Hold on a second. Here we go. Play. 2s, 3s, 1s. Okay, so that looks pretty good. This white frame, black frame, white frame, white frame, black frame again is what we want to look at now. How does that look? Timing. I think it works fine. So right here now, we have to remember where our bomb was. We're going to draw a little bit of smoke that just deteriorates a little bit. So our bomb was right there. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our pencil tool. And we're going to use this some light gray. And we're going to just leave it right here. It's right above this little mark right here. On this frame right here, we're going to give ourselves our first little plume of smoke. We'll turn the onion skin off. So the thing that I want to do here is I'm going to do this in kind of a cartoony mode. All right, so I want to make sure that I'm in the right place on the screen. All right, so the first thing that happens, medium, small, big, small, big. It kind of ends up looking like popcorn. Small, medium. That's okay. On 2s, onion skin, onion skin. We're going to grow the smoke. This is different than the acrid smoke that would come out of a volcano or the smoke that would come out of a campfire or something. This is the gunpowder flashing. This is the TNT flashing. And so this is going to dissipate really quickly. So on 2s, we're just going to draw the outside shape first, just to make sure that it's growing correctly. And we just got, oops, I don't like that. I could fix that one too. All right, once again, just to remind you that there's lots of different ways to do this. This is just a simple, easy way to do it. So now the smoke is already breaking apart. So I just want to get these bigger shapes out, and they're moving pretty quickly. There's 4 of them, that's fine. But let's go back to this one, and we're going to paint it. Just going to paint it white. It's that light gray. All right, we're going to paint this one too, and we're going to go backwards because now an interior shape. Oops, I don't that. So an interior shape is happening. We can see that the smoke is creating an interior shape. So let's paint this one. Good, okay. And the same with this one. So now that interior shape is growing and it kind of takes on a roundish spherical shape here. So each one of these little shapes has its own little round or spherical shape to it. And it's still pretty much connected. All right, paint it, see if we get lucky. You know, we got lucky. There's some artifacts happening right there, but that's okay. On this one, so now, you know, with our pencil tool, we can see that this shape is already out here. This does not have to be a perfect circle. It can just be something like that. These little shapes here come up here and dissipate. This little shape is kind of like this. These little shapes move out. There can be just one here, one here. Find yourself a good shape for this one. This shape here can be just like this. This shape is maybe a little one and a medium one. Go ahead and paint it. It's kind of really rough here. That's okay. This is going to be on 2, so go out 2 frames, pencil tool, move away from your stage a little bit and just get this one to dissipate. This one to dissipate, and maybe another little piece, a little one, a little one. Maybe this breaks up into 3 pieces. It's off the stage already. Paint these. And one more. At least one more frame. You got to get it off the stage. So here, this one's off. This one's off. All right, so that's good. Paint it. And this is just a general dynamics of what an explosion looks like. Fuse, smoke, pause, flash. And this might be moving a little too fast right here for the actual smoke. So let's put this one on 3s. Save it, watch it again. So I'm looking at the variation in timing of the little smoke at the end there. All right, so that's working better. So look at the variation in timing. A-frame hold, 2s, 3s, pause, 1s, 2s, 3s. I think this gives you a really good idea of what setting up a bomb explosion looks like. Make sure you get the white frame, black frame, white frame in there. You know, that it just sells it, right? Just completely sells it. All right, so there's a couple of things that I want to get to the mud bubble right now, but there's a couple other things that you can think about here. Is that in your chemistry lab, it absolutely doesn't have to be a bomb. Something else can explode. It can be a beaker, it can be a test tube, it can be anything that explodes. In your test, if you're doing for game animation or pure 2D animation, you can explode a duck, you can explode a Pokemon if you want. I don't care, you can explode anything. But this is the general approach, the general timing of how you get whatever it is that's igniting. Fuse, smoke, pause, flash, white frame, black frame, white frame. And just like the lightning that we saw, the white frame, black frame, white frame in the lightning doesn't have to be the whole frame. If it's a volcano, just get that little flash to be centered around the actual place where the lightning is. All right. Millicent, did you have a question? Or are you just arranging your camera?
I was just arranging my camera, but I did have one question
Sure.
that I wanted to ask.
Sure.
You had mentioned, I think it was a couple weeks ago, you had showed some examples, students' examples of, I don't know if it was for the final project, but they did their own story and they incorporated the effects, but they made their own character designs and kind of made a short story. Would I be able to do that with showing you first the progress to make sure that it's working correctly?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And you can put it in that folder that I just made,
Okay.
right? Because I'll see it. I'll see the number there. Now, I
Okay.
thought that I had a. So let me open this one for you. Because I think this is one of the best ones. Can you see that? Oh, you know what? Could you
Yes.
double check? I thought that I put this one in your classroom. Did I put this one in the classroom?
I'm not sure.
If I didn't, I'll do it right now so I don't forget. But I think this is just really great because the character is just blocked in. It's just, he's just changing his line of action. There's lots of really great things about this. Uh-oh, you know, the reaction. And I know I've got like a whole bunch of animators in here. So, you know, he's gonna stretch to get out of the way. The explosion is gonna be the entire cauldron. Right? So you see that same exact thing I just did for you. The same exact thing. So this is a really, really great project for this class for animators. So let me put this one in the classroom. And I'll put this in the discussion area. Oh yeah, I didn't put that in there. Okay, so let's add this one. So this, I'll just call this one example. Oops, I should probably spell example correctly. All right, drag the file here. Is this what you were looking for, Millicent?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
And you can do, over the next couple of weeks, I'll show you all the other examples again. But this one was just like one of the best ones. Just because the character's there, but it's just blocked in. It's just a gesture and it's perfect. And the timing is really, really, really great. All right, so that's showing up as an example. All right. So let's turn this off. Let's turn this off and let's do a mud bubble. I think we're doing mud bubble. So I did lightning, explosion, mud bubble. Okay. I'm not going to do the reference thing, except for maybe I'll do 1 10-second search for, hey, mud bubble. And if I do this correctly, I usually get the ones that are from Yellowstone and that they look like this. If I change this to videos, you can see that this one is good. So that they puff up and explode just a little bit. There's some steam, you don't have to do that. But that's fine, this is good. So I'm gonna stop this. I'm going to do another quick little search for bubbles from the sword and the stone. And you can see that the bubbles, oh, you know what, hold on a second. Oh, hold on, wait, stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna pause the recording. All right, so what we're looking for in the mud bubbles then is this strange little shape, which I think lends itself pretty well to the volcano. And it's actually pretty easy. It only takes a few minutes to explain. The only thing that we really want to think about is aesthetics. So I'm going to just imagine that my horizon line is way up on top and we've got a 1-point vertical. So this is just going to be mud, add and close. All right, so I'm going to come out to about frame 16. Frame 16, and I'm just going to get a bubble to grow. I'm going to use a gray color, maybe put a little orange in it. All right, so on the first frame of my mud, I'm just going to have the shape start. I'm going to come in on it. What you're doing is you've got air coming up underneath the mud itself on twos to start with. So we're going to grow this. On twos. Onion skin is only 2 frames back. Let's make it more. You have to use your mouse. So we're going to grow it a little bit more. And like this. And one more. So what I want you to imagine is that the air is filling up the pocket and trying to expand into a perfect sphere. And so what I'm doing here is I'm giving myself a bigger dimension on the top, but because of the laws of perspective, I'm giving a lesser one here. At this point, the bubble pops. So it expands out a little bit and it pops. So give yourself the tension, the release of the tension, and the aesthetics are that you want some variation in shape and position and size. And you want this rounded feel to it. I'm going to borrow this line. And I want the backside too. So you can imagine that there was a continuation of line. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to give myself something like this. And then I'm going to add in just a couple of little splatters. Next frame, out on twos. You can see what we've got. So now this stuff is moving down, maybe even outwards just a little bit. And these are moving down. And the little bits are falling. You don't have to do a ripple. It would be wrong to do a ripple. But when you see the middle part here, especially on this frame, you can do like the center that you saw in the example. So this thing just kind of sits there. Maybe it just kind of hovers around. Now, what you're going to end up doing in your volcano is that I think it's incorrect to try to do these really, really big unless your camera's in the right place. All right, so that looks okay on 2s. Let's take one more look at it. Let's take it on 3s. Okay, so now let's put the first part on 4s. Grow, 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 4s. All right, so now let's keep that on 3s. All right, so I think that it looked okay on 3s, especially for this frame. So we got 4s, 4s, 3s, and 3s, okay? All right, so I think that timing is okay. Let's take this one down to 3 as well. Nah, I disagree with myself. This is going to look better on 3s. So just keep going back and forth until you're happy with the timing. So that looks good. 3s all the way across. All right, and there's your bubble itself. So let me do one more thing here and see if we can sneak in something else. Got half an hour. All right. We did water already, right? Just reminding it. Yeah, we did water. Okay. We did eruptions. We did these bubbles. Let's save this one till we get towards the final. And the only thing that we're really kind of moving then is this tornado. And again, we're going to move that to like week 10 or week 9 or something like that. All right, so let me see if anyone's uploaded anything. All right, so the only thing that I can tell you is that my intuition is that the glow didn't work for me in Toon Boom because I had a glow and a transparency at the same time. I don't know why it was rendering a completely black frame. I do not know why. But remember that the key idea there is that you don't want this lightning that's happening behind a volcano that is a good distance away from the camera to create a huge white and black frame flash on the screen. So let's just take 1 second and look at some of the examples of volcanoes from past classes, just so that you can get the idea of how to handle the lightning. And I believe it is on this drive. Just a couple of them so that you can have the idea fresh in your mind. And I believe we're still recording, so you can go back over and look at this. All right, I believe it was in this folder. All right, so what we're looking at is volcano. This one's mine. So you see the lightning over there? And I don't have any flashes on this demo. That lightning is just by itself. So it's okay. You can see the eruption on that middle volcano is timed pretty well. The water splash is okay. The fire's good. The smoke is good. That one does not have mud bubbles. These are all my different demos. All right, let's take a look at this one. And this one doesn't have, oh, it has lightning in it, but you can see that it doesn't look like lightning because there's no flashes in there. It looks more like rain because of the way they've drawn it. I like the graphic attempt at that smoke. That's really cool, but the lightning needs work. You know, remember that lightning is really, really energetic. All right, let's take a look at this one. So she can see that she has got a strange little frame that comes over right here. I don't know why that's there, but the lightning looks okay. Fire looks okay. The smoke is kind of moving backwards all over the place. It's shifting around a whole bunch. All right, let's look at a couple more. Again, we're just looking at lightning. So it looks strange if the lightning is just by itself. So you really need to do that white, black, white flash in order to get it to work. This one doesn't have lightning in it at all. So this one has both. This one has a white frame, black, white over the whole frame. And then Jen has taken a glow behind the lightning itself. And that works. You see, can you see it? So the mud bubble here is actually a lava bubble, which is fine. It's the same thing. It's a little rounded on the bottom. Her fire's looking okay. It's very stylized, and I champion the idea of working with stylization. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I recommend it. All right, so these lightnings are only okay because they don't have any flash in them at all. He's using that example that we just showed you of the dissipation and more of a plasma look to it, but I think it could be better with that flash in there. All right, so he's using the same thing where he's got the flash black and white frame right over the whole frame, as opposed to just the lightning itself. And that's fine, you can do that. Do whatever, however you feel you want to handle the effects of it. And apparently everyone in this class is, because I think it's easy. It's easy to just put a white, black, white card over the entire frame. It's easy. Try to do it the more interesting way. And again, when we're doing our tornado, go ahead and try something stylized. I don't have any problem with that. So it doesn't look like Kit has any lightning in this one, but everything else looks really good. Everything else looks really good. There's no lightning in that one. All right, I think you've got enough to think about right now. And we run a little fast because the class is small class. These are easy. Lightning is easy, the explosion is easy, mud bubbles are easy. What's not quite so easy is the composition. So work on that, and you determine whether you want these to be part of your composition, which I give huge weight to, and make sure that you're hitting this clean and solidly enough that you can get the pixie dust and the volcano in for spring show. And from where everything I can see, the spring show will be on ground again. It's a good resume thing. It's good bragging rights. Think about how you want your tornado to look. And at this point, really more than anything, you should be thinking about what these look like, what your sketches look like. Right about now, you can sketch out everything. Go back into the Pinterest board and see what you want your plasma to look like. What do you want your chemistry lab to look like? It doesn't have to be a chemistry lab. You can be more creative, right? What do you want that tornado to look like? The The blue one that we pointed out earlier is good. The fire tornado on the Pinterest board is really great. You can do that one. And for whatever it's worth, the tornado only takes a couple weeks. It's going to cycle. There's only a total of 16 drawings, which is why I put more weight on your volcano and on your final. Right? Everyone okay? Everyone's okay. All right, I'm going to let you go a little early. You have your folders. I'll put folders in there for all the 3 little pieces that we went over today. And let me double check. Yes, we meet next week, but the week of the 28th, we have spring break. So we meet next week. And so, oops, went too far. So you should be as far along with the volcano as you can. I don't need the volcano to absolutely be done before spring break. I don't care. What I care about is the spring show. What I care about is that you're making it look awesome, right? And what I will do is I will try to restart my Toon Boom and figure out why my glow node isn't working. And when we meet next week, I'll try to make sure that is done really clearly in your mind about what the glow looks like. What's the best way to make that little flashy glow look the best? Okay.
Thank you.
I will see you all next week.
All right. Yeah.
Ciao for now.